What's up, everyone? So, if you do not know Jules here, this is
Hello.
Jules from the E.N.F.J page on Instagram. I actually even alluded to her in my video, pretty much relating to memes of your Myers-Briggs type and everything like that. And we will be interviewing Jules and getting to know her today, asking a lot of invasive questions because she's obviously another ENFJ. She also has a YouTube channel, and we're gonna get into a whole bunch of like fun stuff today. So stick around for that. Let's get it. So then the theme song comes, boom, boom, and now I'm gonna ask. So Jules, of course, I'm gonna have you answer a whole bunch of other questions, but I think first and foremost, I would love for you to introduce yourself to my viewers. Who are
Yeah.
you?
Hi, I am Jules. I'm 20 years old and I'm from Seattle. And I like MBTI and I like posting and hanging out with my followers,
Mhm.
seeing yeah. I really like just helping people, and so being able to do that on my page has been really fun.
Yeah, and I will go ahead and say I'm not just saying this because ENFJ and being it's an extra whatever. Like I really love your page. You have absolutely phenomenal ENFJ memes. I
Thank
love seeing the people like comment. I think I commented on a few of them even. Like sometimes it's always like surprising to me because I love one of the reasons why I love type is because I love to see how even though there's 16 different personalities, um, there are so many nuances and ways of how each person can show up even in the same type.
It's
Um,
true.
yeah, and like somebody might be using the same function stack, but then the way that they're using NI is going to be different from the way that this other person will be using NI, and like the way they're using tertiary SC is going to be different from the way that this other person uses tertiary SC. And so, of course, there's no way of like always like confirming 100% if the people commenting are really ENFJ. But,
Yes.
assuming and granting that, then I'll like read some of the comments because I might like look at a meme and I'd be like, huh, that's interesting. I don't think that, for example, like I struggle with social anxiety or like I'm socially awkward in this way. And I'm like, is this a thing? Like, are other ENFJs like relating to this? And it's like, oh my gosh, yes. And so I'm like, okay, rather than like jumping to the, oh, they can't be an ENFJ because of XYZ.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel
So,
like I deal with that a lot when I make posts. There's a lot of posts I make that I feel like I don't even necessarily relate to, or maybe I just don't relate to anymore.
mm-hmm.
And then some posts, I'm like, "I hope that they're relating to this." I think I'm on, but this could really just be a me thing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the hard things about making such pages. Even for my YouTube videos, every time I'm like on an interview or I'm like speaking for ENFJs in a way, then I'm always having in the back of my head like there's gonna be some ENFJs here is like, oh, well, I'm not like that, or something like that. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I have to always put the disclaimer that I'm speaking as an ENFJ or I'm speaking as patterns. Like, okay, from the hundreds of ENFJs that I've like probably like coached or like befriended or watched from a distance or even watched on television, whatever. I can tell like, okay, this is a pattern. But yes, sure, it's not going to be
Yeah.
100% and everything. And so I always have to say, like, this is just my experience as an ENFJ, or this is what I've seen from other ENFJ. But yeah, I was wondering about that from you. Like, oh, so I wonder which of these memes like she actually relates to and which one she doesn't. Like, there was even a video that you had posted in one of your reels where I think you were talking about alone time. And
Mhm.
I know that like you'll sometimes post memes like about how, oh yeah, like an ENFJ, and when it comes to like alone time, then it's like no, or like even like self-care, like this is a threat, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I was curious even then. I was like, I wonder if like she even still relates to that, or if she like, doesn't relate to that anymore, but she just knows that this is a trend for ENFJs. So questions like that would come to my mind.
Mhm.
And of course I would see like people in the comments like, oh my gosh, yes. And the video that I was even alluding to, where I did briefly mention you, and I made it clear that like your page is great and all of that, and I don't think that this is what exactly you're trying to perpetuate. But I was talking more about like commenters. Like sometimes I'll see like people will be in the comments and then they're like, oh my gosh, yes, because I just help people to a fault and my own detriment. And it's like, okay, cool, that's the meme. But now that you
Mhm.
know this about yourself, like, I mean, you said it yourself in your YouTube videos. I've watched all of them, but anyway, that's not here or there.
Thank you.
You said,
Do not wear yourself thin helping people who wouldn't for you. I'm going to repeat that. Do not wear yourself thin helping people who would not for you. I know you know who they are. Put your energy towards people who are deserving of your care and concern. Please.
and so like even you yourself, like you would say like, okay, like we have this tendency to live
Mhm.
up to this meme and everything like that. And but at the end of the day, we're supposed to be growing. And a matured ENFJ, for example, would know like, okay, yes, my inclination is FESC, gotta help this person, gotta help this person, gotta do that. But then but I'm going to bring a lot of NI into that and be like, wait a minute, let me actually gauge more decisively like what fires to tend to, or it's best to also tend to myself. And once again, like you had a reel where you were talking about like, you talk about being bored because you did not you have not found solace in your like alone time. And I was like
Mhm.
just snapping my fingers with that.
So we gotta talk about something. Being alone. Loving being alone. Having alone not equal loneliness. For ENFJs, learning how to be alone is one of the most important lessons that they can learn. ENFJs are such people persons. They love social interactions. They love learning about other people, why they are the way that they are, what makes them tick. It excites them to meet new people. It puts them at ease to be with their friends. And this is why they are always constantly surrounding themselves with others. But what happens when an ENFJ, what happens when you are forced to be alone? You become stressed. You become anxious. I see you guys liking my memes about hating being bored. It is because you are not yet comfortable with being with yourself and your thoughts. You have yet to indulge in that self love and self obsession of being with your own company. And it can be really hard at first for an ENFJ because it is uncomfortable and you do feel like that void when you're alone with yourself. But if you continue on that path through the growing pains, you will find that the other side is in fact very green. You'll be able to find and learn your interests, your values, your likes, your dislikes. You won't have anyone swaying your emotions all of the time. This is when you can truly start building yourself up and becoming your best self. I feel like I relate to these things and I don't relate to these things just because I'm always like I feel like as an ENFJ, it's normal to be going back and forth between being people obsessed and then being like self obsessed and
Yeah.
just continually going back and forth trying to um not be at such extreme and
Hmm.
finding that balance.
For sure.
So I think that at sometimes I relate to it, and
Hmm.
then sometimes I'm posting and I haven't seen anyone in, like, 5 months, and I'm just talking about some social thing that's definitely not what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So I say I do and I don't, and I think I will continue to relate to my memes that I don't right now.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So then my first question for you, which I'm sure everybody is wondering, is how exactly did you find out about type? Like, how did you find out that you were an ENFJ and started getting into the cognitive functions and everything like that?
It was pretty, I was just in a group of people and, someone was just like, "Oh, like, look at this cool test on 16 personality types."
Wow.
And, um, and so it was kinda just that thing where, like, people were doing it, so I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I took the test, and I definitely took longer than the I don't know what it says, like, be done in 12 minutes or something. Probably
Uh-huh.
took me, like, 20. Um, I have to, like, read every question and be like, "Am I really answering this
Absolutely.
right?"
For sure.
So, I did the test, and I got ENFP, and I
Mhm,
was reading it. I was like, "This is, like, similar, but it's not quite
mhm.
right." Like, I knew immediately that I was like, "This isn't spot on."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna take it again." And I took it again right there, which is surprising to me now. So I'm like, I don't know what I changed about in my answers, but apparently maybe I just needed to get a feel for the test or something.
Yeah.
Um, but I just retook the test just then and got ENFJ, and then I looked at just read more about it, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is it." And that was super, super exciting for me, especially at the time I didn't have, um, many times or people that I felt like I could relate to in
Mhm,
my life, and so just
mhm.
understanding that, like, feeling seen and, like, it was just a really cool experience.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I 16 personalities notorious for giving, like, such
Intros.
yeah, intros. Yeah,
Oh,
like, that's like well, I was gonna say, like, it's
mhm,
it's notorious for giving, like, very, like, long results, and then people just run with it. But yes, you're right, like, I always say that it's more of, like, the runway into type, and so even for me, like, I know the first time that I took it, I got, ESTJ, and I was like, "This is not me." And then, I took it again, and then I got ESFJ, and I was like, okay,
did you take it immediately
nice."
again? Like,
I think that yeah,
you're
I did actually, yeah,
oh,
because
you
my
did?
friends, they were, like, with me, and then they were both like, "Oh, yeah, no, you're definitely not ESTJ." I'm like, "Yeah, no, definitely not me." And then when I took it again, then I got the ESFJ one, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, like, yeah, I mean, I don't
Mhm.
really think I'm like, this part doesn't really resonate with me and this part, but, it's as best as, like, I always say, like, it was kind of like a Di like, which Disney princess are you kind of test to me.
Right.
Like, so I just like, okay. And then it wasn't until, my, my girlfriend at the time's older brother, who was really into type, like, he told me, like, "Oh, no, like, Denzel's actually an ENFJ, not an ESFJ."
You just already knew.
Yeah, like,
I
he
love
just yeah, he, like yeah, exactly, and I was like, "How did he know?" But not like, and he's an ISTP, but he was really into,
Oh.
like, script writing, and so he wanted to, like,
Mm.
make actual characters with, like, real personalities and stuff like that, and so he was just yeah, he was, like, into typing that way, and then when I was already annoyed with the kind of test, like, by that point, but then my girlfriend was like, "Oh, no, like, you should definitely, like, look at this, like, it's so you," and everything like that, so I looked at it, and then I was like, whoa, like, like this is really accurate, um and after that, like, I just went right into the rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely not usually the first results that you get. In fact, even the most recent time that I had taken that test and I was answering as honestly as possible, I got INFJ. So I was like, okay. And I think that you had even said the same for yourself, but it's like we
Mhm.
both know, like, okay, that's not really the case. Like my SE is definitely not inferior. Yeah.
No, that is where the fun is for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, you also, made a meme page, as we referred
Mhm.
to. What brought you from, "Okay, I found out that I'm an ENFJ. Now I actually want to, like, make memes to be able to, relate to other people," and, especially, like, one that's grown as big as it has. I don't know, like, how big you might, like, consider it, like, if you kinda, like, look at just like, "No, like, this kinda blew up, like, and I'm kinda proud of myself," or are you like, I don't really think it's all that big just yet." Like, did you even see it getting to this level?
Um, I I tested the first time and then got into it for a couple years before I started, the page.
Mhm,
Initially, I had been into it, like, sort of off and on, and I was following some of the bigger meme pages at the time on Instagram,
mhm,
and they just posted the all the types, like, in
mhm,
one
mhm,
post type, just
mhm,
general content, and so I went onto the search bar on Instagram looking for an ENFJ page,
mhm,
and I saw just a few of them, and when I clicked on their profiles, they were very inactive and just kind of like from years ago and kind of just I don't know. The posts were so. So I
Yeah.
wasn't very satisfied with what I found.
Yes.
I know what I would want to follow in a page, and so I
Mhm.
thought, "You know what? I'm gonna make a page that I wish that I could see and make the content that I'm, right now searching to see." And then all these other people who also are searching and can't find a page that they like for ENFJs can enjoy what
Yeah.
I have to share.
Nice, nice. I love that. Did you have like an idea that your page was going to become as popular
Mhm.
as it did?
Honestly, starting it, it was never I never really thought about it. I
Mhm.
kind of just did it because I was interested and I wanted to share it with people, and I was excited when I got initially good feedback, and, so I just kept going, and it just naturally grew from then, and it was exciting to see it grow and stuff,
Yeah.
so I don't think I ever really had such a plan for growth. Like, I it took me a couple years just to start using hashtags because I was just like, "I don't care. It's not about
Yeah,
that."
yeah,
Um,
nice.
yeah, I was just excited to post and help people relate to each other and understand each other and be better too.
No, I love that. Seriously, I really love that. That's awesome. I remember even I relate because even with my YouTube channel, I originally started my YouTube channel because I got into a whole bunch of things. It wasn't I don't even think it was type at first. I just was looking into a lot of different things that other people in my real life, like they didn't whenever I would try to talk about it in real life, like with people, then it seemed like their eyes would kind of like glaze over. So I
Mm,
was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, I have to get my thoughts out in some way. And so I'm just gonna post it on YouTube, to just get it out there, almost like a public video journal or something like that for my thoughts. And yeah, anybody who wants to watch, they can come by and watch it. And it's not really something that's, I was actually planning to like grow big or anything like that. And then when I got into type, then I did start seeing like a little bit more of like the traffic, come through. Although I always also made it like be like, well, but I still want my page to be like about more than just type, especially back then, like I was really strongly like talking a lot about like biblical things and everything like that. I was like back when I was like strongly Christian and all that stuff. So yeah, like a lot of things kind of like shifted uh from there, and then I was able to like see the growth happening in that way. So I definitely get what you mean. And I guess this also goes to show that whole thing about like, oh yeah, I guess ENFJs, it's not always like a vision that you're having from the moment. It kind of just starts like you just going through life and just doing your fun thing, and then all of a sudden if something starts to shape, and then it's like, oh, I can
mhm,
cultivate this. Like even like with me being a certified life coach, I had never really planned to be a life coach, like, but then people started commenting like how they wanted to video chat and like talk to me and stuff like that. And then then people started like telling me like, you could probably make money from this. And then another friend of mine who was also an ENFJ, she was like, like they're actually like giving life coaching certification at this site if you like did this. And I was like, oh, so yeah, everything kind of just like stumbled into place for me. And yeah, I guess that just further goes into that whole thing that I was saying, like it's not always like a set vision, but then the thing kind of just emerges just from like living life on its own.
mhm. I think ENFJs a lot of times get really planned out about small things, and
Mhm.
then with big things, they just have to jump into it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah,
that happens all
absolutely.
the time.
Yeah, for sure. Because then once you do jump into it, once you like at least get the ball rolling and you have an SE kind of like feel for like,
Mhm,
oh, this is what's actually happening right now, then you can start plotting like, okay, this is the realistic whatever that's going on. So now that the ball is rolling, this is how I can not only keep it rolling, but this is the trajectory of where it's rolling to. This is where I want for it to go. this is for, like, how do I feel about this? How are other people responding to this? How can I keep this going in that way? And so, yeah, I think that's definitely like a big thing, which I guess brings me also to my next question then. So, what would you say are like two things that most set ENFJ apart from other types in your own experience?
Oh man. It's hard because I feel like the types are so different, but can be so close too.
Hmm.
Like, with INFJ being so close to us, I
Hmm.
feel like we share a lot of the same traits.
For sure.
I would say I think we have a specific charm about us that is just different. It's just different because, I like for ENFP, for example, they're just charming too,
Yeah,
um,
that was the first type that came to mind. Like, yeah,
super
they're also
outgoing,
charming.
super charming.
Yes.
Um, we have such a personal and genuineness to us that makes us, relatable, and then also we have strong, we're just very strongly just like we're just charming
Hmm.
too. So I guess our charm is something that I would say sets us apart from other types in the way that we deliver it. That's more comforting to other people.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It reminds me of how ENFJs are often like said to be like flirting and everything, and then all those memes, even there, it's like, no, I'm not flirting, I'm just an ENFJ. And there's
Mhm.
a lot of those like for the ENFP as well.
Yeah.
But at least in my experience too, you can still tell the difference between like an ENFP flirting, like NEFI flirting is pretty different from like an FENI type of flirting.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like, especially like for myself, like I know that you had said also in one of your videos, like how like ENFJs they kind of just flirt with everybody, and I tell people that all the time. Like I will flirt with like I'm 100% straight, but like I will flirt with even like other men, like my guy friends at times. Just it's just like a way of like bantering. Like sometimes if a clever or witty, joke or innuendo or something like that comes to mind, and then you can kind of like embody it in a way. I'm gonna do it, and
Mhm.
I never want to make a person actually like feel uncomfortable. That's because once you're uncomfortable, I'm far past now like uncomfortable too. So you're always trying to like read the room. But I think that FESE of like I want to feel like connected and I want to play with the interpersonal dynamic here. But then also this, like you said, like a genuine interest and like I really do want to get to know you. I really do want to like, you know, understand you. And I think that that's where it's like there's the flirting, which is like a little bit more playful, and then there's the charm that also comes in there. Like with and the charm is kind of like this. Um, he might be a bad example, but almost like Hans from Frozen, like how like how he just like in the
Yeah.
beginning, like he wasn't like really just or anything like that. Like he was really like attentive and patient and he was really listening and he actually like
Mhm.
really made Anna feel heard. Um
The
which
manipulator.
yeah, that's what I said. He's a bad example, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, you got to claim the good. You got to claim the bad if you're also going to claim the good.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we do have a good, um we're good at making people like us.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
when it comes from a good place, it is a genuine interest in other people, and
Exactly.
so listening to what other people, have to say and making them feel heard and making them feel good about themselves, that's not a personal gain. That's
Right.
because we want to see them feel good about themselves. So
Mhm,
that goes
mhm.
along with our charm
Yeah.
is yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess even like speaking of like Hans from Frozen and everything, I then also wanted to ask you, of your top favorite ENFJ characters, who would
Okay.
you say? Yeah, if you had to list maybe 3 to 5.
3 to 5, okay. There are a lot of really good characters out there. I'll start off soft here. One of my
Okay.
favorite characters, Marinette from Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir.
Oh
Have you seen
yeah,
that? I've posted about her a couple times.
yeah,
I'm
I've
sure you
seen.
saw.
Yeah,
I love her, if you can't tell. No, so
yeah.
it's just like a children's show.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure why I watched it, to be honest.
Yeah, no
But,
judgment
it happened,
here.
and
I've seen like an episode or two. My nephews and niece were watching, of course. No, I just happened to be there. So
me too. I think what kept me so entertained is just how relatable she is as a character. It's kinda this thing where she is a, confident superhero who has it all figured out, and she's a great friend to other people, and then she's just super, like, awkward and clumsy around her crush, and that whole just everything she does is so relatable, and I love seeing the, um, direct, difference or contrast between
duality.
her different sides. I feel like it's portrayed really well in
Yeah,
there. So I
yeah.
think the most fun it's just fun to watch and see,
Hmm.
like, a character represent you so well, and I think she does it in a silly, non-serious way, which is
Yeah,
my favorite genre.
yeah. Ever since I saw that you had typed her as ENFJ, that automatically made me be like, oh, okay. Now I'm like extra more intrigued to when I visit my nephews and nieces, then no, I might check it out a little bit
You just
more. I
turn it
might pay a
on.
little bit more attention. You know.
Mhm. Just turn
Yeah,
it on. It's good.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Like, hey, do you guys want to
repetitive.
watch another episode? I mean, I don't mind if you want to.
Well,
You
it
can put
really
it on.
gets you because the 2 characters it's an INF or yeah, an INFP and an ENFJ
Mm,
relationship.
who did give me
And
IFP
so
vibes? Yeah.
it's like the same thing kind of every episode, but it just makes, like, the smallest bit of progress between, like, the 2 characters and a little bit of development. There's more development in her character and other
Mm,
characters as the show goes on, and, the
mm.
creators saw that the people who are watching it are a little bit older too. It's a little bit
Really?
more yeah,
Huh.
um, but it's really just, like, the last, like, minute of the show that just gives you, like, a little bit more, and then you're like, "Oh, I just have to watch another episode."
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, isn't there like it's a dynamic where the INFP likes her actual
No, no,
like
no, no.
non oh, that's not it, you said?
No, he likes her as a superhero.
As a superhero. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Idealized, right.
Yeah, it
He
does make
likes the superhero version of her, but then she likes the normal version of him or something, or is that did I
Mhm.
make that part up?
Yeah, he is, like, a model in, like, the show, like, his dad's super
Yeah.
rich, and she adores him.
Mhm,
And she, sees all the dark sides of him and
mhm,
loves that, and then as Cat Noir,
mhm.
INFP when he's a superhero, she is annoyed by him all the time because he's just, like, showing off and
Yeah.
being all witty, and she's just, like, thinks he's so annoying.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
then the when Cat Noir is Adrian, his self,
mhm.
he, like it's not that he doesn't like Marinette, but Marinette is too awkward to, like, push through and actually, you know, talk
Mhm.
to him, so
Yeah. And they don't know each other's identity? Or
no. Yeah,
yeah.
they don't know.
Yeah, that was the like, all of that was a little bit of the captivating element when I was watching with my nephews, like, "Oh,
Yeah,
like,
it's just
I
a
wonder."
little bit at the end where you're like,
Yeah.
"I wanna see what happens."
Yeah, I
And
was
then you watch
confused. I
the
was
whole
like, "Did you
show.
not know?" Okay. Well, Imma definitely, like yeah, Imma definitely, like, revisit that. Um,
And
mhm,
then I would say my next well, actually, my all-time favorite, we'll go strong.
mm.
My favorite, have you seen the movie Before Sunrise?
No, but I'm writing it down now.
Yes, so it's a late '90s movie, and the main character there's the main character, he's ENFJ, and then the other character, his love interest is INFP again. Um,
Yeah.
and I love these shows. I'm not saying that I'm love INFPs either. I'm not sure about that entirely.
Mhm.
He is such an introspective character. He the whole movie is basically just dialogue throughout the whole way.
I do really like dialogue heavy type of movies like that.
It's to me, it's the most captivating type
Yeah,
of movie. Like,
yeah.
take out all the action,
Mhm.
take out the drama, like, just dialogue of thoughts. And
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
thoughts, I love them because they're so raw. I
Hmm.
feel like there's such raw feelings as an ENFJ that, we change how we feel about things or how we should feel about things all the time, and it feels like it comes from such a deep place from him and just, the way that we view the world and things. Just
Mhm.
everything he said that came out of his mouth was just the most, like, relatable I have ever felt to a character or anybody.
Wow.
You
Wow.
should definitely watch this movie. It's like I've seen this movie a lot of times too, which is a lot for me because I do not like watching movies over again. I don't
Huh.
know. Do
Okay.
you like watching movies again?
It depends on the movie, but yeah, I think so. Like I watch Bridge to Terabithia on an annual basis. It was the first movie that ever made me cry, and just
Every man says that.
INFP, ENFP dynamic, but it's just yeah, it's just beautiful. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. It's a great movie, and, um, it was my INFP friend who had shown it to me because, I'm an ENFJ,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
he's an
mhm.
INFP, and it was kind of the same thing. He's one of my best friends, and just while we both watched it, he was relating to the INFP so much too. So
Mm.
even if you're an INFP, like, that movie would be really great. Just yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's always an interesting, duo to look at, like, even in the movie Her. Have you ever seen that movie by any chance?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it's,
Is it popular?
yeah, it's pretty popular.
Of
Uh,
course.
yeah, it's pretty much this INFP guy, I believe that he's played by Joaquin Phoenix, so the guy that played Joker. He, falls in love with this artificial intelligence. So it's like this little, like, Siri type of thing, voiced by Scarlett Johansson. So the artificial intelligence is actually the ENFJ. Um, and she speaks so lifelike. Like she's very, I mean, again, like it's Scarlett Johansson, but she's like she has the inflections in her voice, and you get to see their dynamic really evolve, because the INFP guy, like he's very like to himself, and like he's just getting over a breakup and everything. And at first, like he really, like, is like, oh my goodness, like this like artificial intelligence thing's like weird. But then he starts to really, like, he makes her his girlfriend. And yeah, I'm not gonna like spoil it. Even that like is not really like a spoiler, because it's the actual storyline that's just like, that's another movie
Yeah.
that I've seen probably twice or three times. I think that's another reason why I like to rewatch movies, because usually the movies that I watch are like extremely thought provoking. And
Mm.
so, like I just recently watched Inside Out 2. Definitely gonna have to see it again at some point.
I
Um
just saw that too. I'd love to
yeah.
hear your thoughts. Did you like it?
I loved it. I loved it. I was like, especially because it's a very FI movie, but I still have to bring my own like FE into it, and it's always so interesting seeing like, oh, like joy and sadness and anger and disgust and fear, and now there's anxiety coming in, and embarrassment, and like all of the social interplay. And I usually see them as like how I view my cognitive functions even. And so like I have a video where like like having my cognitive functions like interact with each other, and it's almost a little bit like Inside Out style, where it's like FE and TI, they kind of like butting heads a little bit, and then you see this like little dynamic of like NI and SE, but then you also see how like they relate to each other, and it's like, okay, well guys, we all have to get on board,
That
and
sounds so fun.
yeah,
I
oh yeah,
need to see that.
Yeah,
That's
it was
so
fun.
fun.
It was fun for sure. It really, especially because I really enjoy acting, and that one was
Mhm.
like an assignment, for one of my personality hacker classes. Like, oh, make a video of your functions interacting with each other or something like that. So I just quickly wrote the script, and then I acted it out, and I was like, no, maybe this I could actually put this on YouTube, see how it does, and maybe I could do more of these. Um, but yeah, like so that's kind of like how I tend to see it like in my head. So yeah, I really do like movies like that. And they because they provoke so much thought, then I'll like go back and I'll like rewatch for the insight. But yeah, if it's something that's just like, oh well,
Mhm.
like that was nice, then I don't usually revisit it.
I usually watch my favorite things to watch are just, like, not that much, like, thought-provoking, I guess, which
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love those things too,
Oh yeah, I don't doubt
but
that.
mostly if I'm gonna watch TV, I'm just watching something super easy that
Got
I
it.
can just, like, half pay attention to, like,
Mhm.
just funny or something like that.
Got it. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
something to calm my my brain down.
Makes sense.
I can't be thinking so deeply all the time.
On a regular basis, do you feel like you're like just constantly always just like thinking like how does a day in your life like are you like making decisions for people all the time like at your job or like how is that for you?
Yeah, my job is really I use all my brain power. But yeah,
Mm,
I do a lot of using all my functions at a constant rate in my job.
mm,
So it's very emotionally tiring and mentally
mm,
tiring to do that, for 8 hours, 10 hours, a day. And then when I come home, I'm either like, "Okay, I need to, like, keep going,"
mm.
and, well, actually, I've been doing this thing where I wake up earlier and 'cause after my job, I'm too I feel like I'm just too spent
Yeah,
to do anything anymore. So I've been waking up earlier and trying to get all those things done, especially when I'm trying to make posts
right.
for my account on Instagram.
Yeah.
I That takes a lot of I mean, a good amount of creative energy, and
Mhm.
when my job is so mentally tiring, it's hard to feel creative at the end
Yeah,
of it. So
yeah, yeah.
doing that in the morning time and trying to just when I get home from work, just rest and go to sleep, like, watch something funny on the TV, eat dinner, then go to sleep. That's the best that I've got because I do feel like I've always got a lot in my head, but what I do for that
Mhm.
is I exercise.
Mm,
Exercising is the only thing that keeps me, like, up, because my brain is just when I'm just going all day long, and then
mhm.
I've always known it as or I've grown up thinking that when you're relaxing and you're resting, you're usually just, like, not moving, and you're just, like, maybe watching TV or just,
Mhm.
like, eating good food, and you're just that's what relaxing is what I've known it to be,
Mm.
um, but when I do that, my brain hasn't stopped slowing down, and so I can't relax. I'm sitting here and I'm doing nothing, but, like, I'm now having, like, so much anxiety about everything and overthinking,
Mm,
and so when I, either take a walk outside after work or exercise whenever I choose to do that during the day, that really helps reset my brain, and,
mhm.
like, that is the most therapeutic thing for
Mm,
me personally.
mm. I see. Yeah, no, okay, that makes sense, especially because you're using so much of that like throughout the day. Like I know recently, during like my pastime, I've been watching through Danny Phantom. Like it's just very like it's a mindless show, like
See, you're so can watch Miraculous. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like, it's like, "Oh, yeah, just throw it on," and, I'll be like, like in the morning, just like setting up my bed and like, just getting ready for any coaching that I might have to do, or like recording like for videos or whatever. And, maybe I'll be washing dishes and I just have it playing there and everything.
Mhm.
And yeah, like that's a way to kind of like relax for myself as well. But yeah, I think that I'm also at the same time, like, if anything, I am even more addicted to like just constantly keeping my brain like munching on something. Um, and yeah, for me, I guess it always depends on what it is, like, yeah, I don't know. You're having me like self-analyze now, because at the same time, for me, it seems like relaxing a lot of times too. Like if I'm driving and then I have a podcast on, like I listen to a lot of personality hacker podcasts. And
Mhm.
so, and I just like to, if it's either deepening my understanding of like type, or like they're introducing like a new concept, or like if I'm listening to like now something about like chakras or tarot or religion or whatever it might be, like I just like my mind to like be rolling on something that's kind of just like, yeah, like keeping my mind busy, like as I'm, washing the dishes too. Like, so like I'll be like listening to an audiobook or something like that. And that also seems simultaneously productive and relaxing. I'll play like video games sometimes, and I can't ever just sit down and only play the video game. I have to be sitting down, and if I'm playing video games, then I either have to be playing with somebody else, which then also seems like fun and productive at the same time. It's like, yeah, I'm getting in social points, or I have to be listening to a podcast or something like that as well. I can't even just
Yeah,
sit and watch like Danny Phantom. I have to like be also like
doing
washing the
laundry.
dishes or something. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
I feel like I could talk about that a lot about ENFJs, is that feeling of being satisfied with yourself at the end of the day, if you were
Mhm.
productive enough. I
Yes.
have a lot of
Yeah.
that too, and anytime anybody sees my daily routine schedule, they're like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
'Cause I'm the same way. I listen to podcasts every day too.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, I tried listening to them on the way to and from work, and that is not a good idea. It was fun, but
Mhm.
my brain at the end of it was like, "I can't function." So
Me
I
too.
do it when I'm getting ready, like, when I take a shower,
Mhm.
um, and all that, get dressed. That's when I listen to my podcast. I love listening to, just psychology podcasts.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
not just, MBTI, but just
Yeah.
all different things, whatever I'm interested in at the time, and I love being in the know and seeing what people are gotta say about, just lots of different topics. Like, I like learning about, like, body language, of course,
Mhm.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and then, well, that's with us, SE trying to
Yes.
trying
Yes.
to initially read body language so we don't have
Mhm.
to use our intuition.
Look,
No.
it's really helpful to combine the 2 for sure.
And just, like, a lot of self-help things too, because
Mhm.
a lot of my content that I post is self-help related,
Yeah.
and, I can think of these things, and then I post these things, but is it really helping me, like, just like any ENFJ, INFJ who's giving advice, we don't always take the advice, right? And so listening to those things myself or whatever I'm just dealing with, I love listening to those podcasts too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a list of, like, things that I have to do each
Mhm.
day, which is why I
Yep.
wake up earlier, because
Yeah.
if I don't do those things, I feel really unsatisfied, and then that makes me anxious, and then when
Mhm.
I'm relaxing, I can't relax about it.
Do you meditate in the morning
Yeah.
ever? Okay. Yeah, that was something that was such a game changer for me a few years ago,
Mhm.
when I started, like, having to wake up, early, either if it was for class or to go to work. I was working as a server at the time and stuff like that. And, when you're working as a server, especially, like, at Buffalo Wild Wings, like, other, like, busy restaurants, then, like, gets really hectic, and everybody else is like, "Ah!" And it's like, I have to always find my zen So I would realize, like, like in the mornings, I I reserved so much more energy by every morning. I'd, wake up at least 20 minutes, usually between 20 and 40 minutes before my alarm. And I would just lay in bed and just look at my ceiling fan as it's like spinning. And I would just let my mind wander and just, be in the moment. I would keep myself from falling asleep. I would just like, be in the stillness of the morning time. Or I
I
would
love
start
that.
mapping out my day. And that really helped too, because even if it was like something like, okay, I'm gonna hop out of bed in about 40 minutes. My FESE wants me to do it right now. It's like, oh, you're wasting time. You gotta It's like, no, I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna hop out of bed in about 40 minutes, and then I'm gonna go brush my teeth. And while I'm brushing my teeth, maybe I'll put on this podcast, or maybe like I'll just do this. And it's like I'm planning out everything to the best of my ability, so that now once I start, when I execute whatever the plan is, I'm not wasting any energy because I already know exactly what I'm about to do. There's not going to be any like missteps where it's like, sometimes when people are like hectic, then it's like, oh man, no, I forgot to get the keys. And they have to like run this way. It's like, oh dang, I forgot to brush my teeth. Oh, I don't even know what I'm going to eat. And like, so that's when they start burning a lot of energy in the like early in the morning before they even like start anything. But when you like, even if it's like kind of counterproductive because you're like, dang, you could have had more sleep. I found that that 20 to 40 minutes, I come back at the end of the day having still a lot more energy reserved, like it, because it makes me burn the energy way slower than if I were to sleep for that extra 20 to 40 minutes. But now it's like I haven't had time to center myself. And so now like everything is just like haywire in a way. So like even for today, it's like, okay, like I have a lot of things that I have to get to before I travel tomorrow for the weekend to New York. And so it's like, okay, I have my checklist. I have everything blocked out, like how much time each thing can have. I even made time for like relaxation, stuff like that. And it just keeps me centered and calm. So yeah, that meditation, like that really does help for
Mhm.
me.
I think if I wake up earlier than technically I need to also,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I try to give myself no time to rush around.
Yes,
I
that's the perfect
a
thing.
lot of like, I will like, I could make probably my breakfast and eat within 30 minutes, but I give
Mhm.
myself an hour.
I like that.
That's kinda what I do with all of my schedule in the morning. I'm like, yes, I could technically, if I just rushed through my schedule, it
Yeah,
would not take as long as it does.
for sure.
But it's about that, going to the gym and not
Yeah.
feeling like I have to stay in a certain amount of time, and
Mhm.
then coming home and doing yoga, meditating, like, that I spend a lot of my time in the morning taking time for all my tasks and
Yeah.
then also having those mental breaks. That's really important.
I love that. Seriously. Yeah, I think that's such a big thing. It reminds me even of like uh I think in one of your videos you were talking about how um I think you were speaking about extroversion and introversion, and how ENFJs like they like to be like really outgoing or whatever, but but that doesn't necessarily mean like the noisiest in the room or like the most like attention seeking. But a lot of times like ENFJs actually have like calm demeanors, and I was like, yes, like that is something that I feel like so many people do not grasp. And the ENFJs who actually are like calmer in demeanor and stuff like that, they get typed a lot as like INFJs. And I'm like, no, that's not an NI dom. Like that's still an FE dominant. It's just, the way they're
Mhm.
presenting, it's more like composed because they're a judger. And, on top of that, like, especially when you have that Zen, when you have that calm, then it can appear in a different type of way. Um, it's because you're not blasting energy outward. So like, yeah, I feel like life is just also just so much more better and peaceful. Like when you know, I guess going back to the fictional characters, Iroh. Like I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people they might be like ENFJ, and it's like yes, and like he's somebody who I see like really is tapped into his NI while still being ENFJ, like FESE oriented, because he has that zen to him. He has that center, even like the way that he's like, he takes his time, like drink his tea and all of
Like
that.
he indulges in his SE, but he heavily knows the importance on relying on that NI.
Exactly. And so then when you're able to do that, again, it's way less energy that's spilled because, you know, if you're taking an hour to eat your breakfast and everything, like you've set that time aside. So now you're not running around in that type of way. Like everything is just so much more calming to like watch somebody doing things like a little bit more slower paced and like peaceful. Like I don't know. I was watching a movie the other day, and like this guy, he was just like making his breakfast, and he just looked like he didn't have a rush in the world. He was just in his own world, and it was just yeah. And that really, if anything, it's almost energizing rather than like, oh man, I gotta eating my cereal as I'm running out. Hey, honey, I gotta
Exactly.
go. Bye. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I remember. I had slept in later, which meant I didn't get to do all the like fun things I do in the morning.
Yeah.
And I had slept in later, like a week ago, and I texted my friend. I was like, "Oh, I slept in late," and
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh no, like you missed work," and I was like, "No, I still have like 3 hours till work. I just slept in too late."
Yep. Yeah, that sounds about right. I love that you have really, if I remember correctly, you said that you're 20.
Yeah.
Will you be 21 later this year, or did you?
Mhm.
Okay.
This year.
Yeah. Well, either way, like I love that at the age of 20, like you've already seen the importance of centering and like making time for yourself, especially as an extrovert, like really like slowing down. Like that's the
Yeah.
biggest lesson, like just slowing things down. Like if you get a text message, you don't have to FESE like respond right away kind of things. Like, wait, let me, I'll get back to that. Let me give it like a few more
Mhm.
minutes, depending on the message, maybe even a few hours, maybe even a few days. You know, like a lot of my friends, like they know, like sometimes I'll take a few days to like get back to them, depending on what it is. But then when I do get back, it's like it's a more thoughtful, quality response than if I was to just, oh, gotta put that out, you know, and like just check it off kind of thing. So yeah, I really respect that you already have that honed in that way. It's something that I think that a lot of ENFJs, even adults, like they still haven't really learned to do. So yeah, I can't wait to see how much more you cultivate of that in your life. And I also wanted to ask, like, did you have any other characters in mind? Because I know that I
Oh,
like tangented or
a 20-minute tangent. Yeah. There's so many good characters. Honestly, I haven't seen a lot of, like, movies and
Mhm.
shows, that have ENFJ characters as their I should watch more, but I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's not on my schedule.
yeah. No,
I
no
haven't been
problem.
doing that. So there's definitely many more that I haven't mentioned, and I'm excited that you're mentioning some too, so
Mm.
that other people can hear about their characters that they love. One character, it's a little controversial, I think.
Oh,
Not
that's
not like
fun.
that,
If
not
they
like
if they made it this far in the video, then they deserve it.
that. No, no, no. So, have you seen Psyche K? It's an anime.
Psyche K?
It's the guy with the pink hair and, like, the little
I don't think so, no. But continue.
yes, the love interest, not so love interest.
Mhm.
She she's got blue hair, and she is definitely an ENFJ. She's an unhealthy ENFJ, I
Mm,
would say, to some
mhm,
degree here. She is extremely intuitive of other people,
mm,
and that's a lot because the premise of the show is that or just part of it, is that the main character, he can read people's thoughts, and so
mm,
he can read the thoughts of this ENFJ girl, and he's always annoyed by her.
mhm.
Um, but he's always really impressed by how well she reads other people because he's like, "I'm a psychic, but, like, she knows what's going on too," like, so he's always impressed with that. Aside from that, she's so annoying to him. I love it, but she's so annoying because she's so conceited. And I
Ah,
think it's a little bit fun to, um, as a viewer to tap into that kind of, like, self-love and self-obsession,
mhm,
um, because I think all of us ENFJs at one point or another, we do find that we do have natural confidence and love with ourselves, but
mhm.
it can sometimes tip over into the egotistical
Yeah.
side, and I think she just portrays it in a really, like, fun, exaggerated way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm definitely gonna watch both Before Sunrise and you said Psyche K?
Yeah.
I'm gonna check them out. Like, I'm always intrigued to see, um, again, like more of the nuances of our type. But yeah, Psyche K, like that character that you just described, it reminded me of another ENFJ character from the show Luther. So Luther, it stars Idris Elba, who I believe is an ISTP in real life, and in the show, he also plays an ISTP. I think online people would be like, "Oh no, he's INFJ or INTJ." No, he's an ISTP.
Everyone's an INFJ.
Right, like he's an ISTP in
Come
the
on.
show. And but Alice Morgan is an ENFJ in the show, and she's a narcissistic psychopath, I believe. And they have like a very intriguing dynamic, especially being reverse types, because he's really good at being able to read people and everything as well. But like he uses a lot of
Mhm.
the SE with it, like he'll like push people in a way to like see like how they'll respond, and then he's like getting in their head and like doing all of this thing, like, and it's like a British type of show, so it's like funny. He's like, yes, but he's a detective. So he's like, but that's not
Oh.
how it went, is it? Okay. So then, and he's just really like dominant in that way, but then he does things in an unorthodox type of manner. And then when he was dealing with Alice Morgan, she was like, oh, like somebody who's actually like fun and like intellectual and able to like really like pick apart my psyche and all this. So she was having a lot more fun with that. And eventually they become friends, frenemies, I guess you can say.
The
It's such
enemies
an
to lovers, I love it.
yeah, it's
And
such
it's
an
the
intriguing
the
dynamic.
same with Psyche K, he's INTP, so it's kind of a
Ah,
similar thing.
yep,
I
yeah.
and Yeah, I always do feel a little spark in me when I get, like, an INTP or, like, an ISTP to, like you and
Oh, yeah.
appreciate your
Of
qualities. I'm like,
course,
"Yes, like,
of
I do."
course. Yeah, TI
It's
is my
such a good.
favorite function personally. So like I
Of
will like
course.
absorb all of it like whenever they're speaking, and I'll like
Mhm.
observe them in that way. Um and yeah, like I'm like, yeah, no, I'll never be technically as confident in my TI or certain or as good or whatever as they might be, but it's like, yeah, it's always like a really good pat on the head to my TI inferior. Like when they're like, oh yeah, like you're a really good thinker, Denzel. I was like, well, thank you.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And then lastly, even X-Men. I don't know if you've seen any of those movies,
Uh,
but
Briefly, roughly,
yeah,
not, like,
no problem.
entirely. It's been a while.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, I believe Professor Charles Xavier in the X-Men movies, not in the show. Professor Charles
Mhm.
Xavier, he's an ENFJ.
That
And
explains, yeah, because there's, like, people are fighting about it, and that's the thing
yeah,
with superheroes. I'm like, there's a comic version, there's a
mhm.
show
Oh yeah.
version, there's the spin-off version.
Yeah, I feel like in the shows, Jean Grey is the ENFJ and he is INFJ, but in the movies, to me, it's very apparent that he's ENFJ. Like, especially when they show him in his younger years in the
Mhm,
movies, and then Jean Grey is the INFJ in the movies. So in the movie Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey, she's it's so interesting. Like if you had to watch any of the X-Men movies to like observe, I would recommend Apocalypse, and then I'd watch the Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix really, in my opinion, shows the dark side of an ENFJ. Like
mhm.
Professor Charles Xavier, like even just watching the trailer, like you'll see, like it's like, yo, like you can't even admit to yourself that you did this. He's like, well, I was only trying to help her, and it's like, no, Charles, like just admit it, like you manipulated her, you did this, you did that, and it's so interesting because he intends to do well, but
And
yeah,
that's what I love about these shows is because we are very, like, ultra good, like, we want to be good and, um we don't want others to perceive us as having these, like, flaws, I guess,
Mhm.
as open as we are. And so it's always so entertaining to see characters portray sides of us that we don't really wanna show, or we
Right.
don't really
Yeah.
want other people to know about.
Mhm.
It's therapeutic in a way.
Yeah. Oh, 1000%. Because yeah, you're very much able to relate. I believe even with Inside Out, I believe that Joy, I did type the little emotions. Um, I believe that Joy was an ESFJ. And in the first movie, especially seeing her with Sadness, who I typed as INFP, and how like she would like manipulate Sadness, like, oh, see, stay in this circle, and oh, isn't it so fun, like you get to sit here and like read, I have to go do work, like and she was like suppressing Sadness so much.
Yeah.
And to me it's like I understood, because like as an FE user I'm like, well, yeah, she just doesn't want us to like cry in front of everybody. Like there's a for FE there's a time and place for when emotions are to come out and everything.
Mhm.
But then for an FI dominant it's like, no, like when you feel it, you feel it. Like that's just that. And so seeing how like Joy was not really a bad person, she just saw the world in a certain way. But then also Sadness was not really bad either. Like she might have messed things up, but like if you realize from the first movie, she was so heavily suppressed that that's why she started to bleed into everything. And once Joy was able to allow her into the fold some more and see like, oh wow, actually Sadness actually leads to joy, because Sadness allows like some people to be like, hey, like why are you so lonely? It's like, oh, this happened. Now people are coming to comfort you in a way.
Mhm.
Some people take advantage of that, and then they're crying for attention, but then sometimes you're really just genuinely sad, and then that allows for people to like, that actually does foster intimacy. And when Joy was able to see that, then I think that became like such a beautiful thing to like watch. But yeah, it's like we're not, oh, like
Mhm.
it's cool to see how even with good intentions a lot of things can still go like haywire, depend no matter like what type you are.
Yeah, it's so true.
Mhm. Well, the last question I wanted to ask you, and it's probably the most loaded question, is what would you say your karmic responsibility is? And what I mean by that is like, as far as you can tell, if you were to like now think about like you on your deathbed or something like that, and you have some time to pretty much like you're slipping away, what
Mhm.
would make you feel like I have literally lived up, like I've lived up to my purpose? Like what is that purpose that you feel like you have right now? And what would make you feel like, yeah, I've done it to the best of my ability and I'm ready to move on?
I'm not sure if I can say that I know exactly what my all purpose is gonna play out to be.
Hmm.
But I know for myself, and as an ENFJ, as a person, I really just want to be what I wanna see.
Mm.
If I wish that more people were kind and caring, I'm gonna be that kind and caring
Yeah.
person. You
Yeah.
know, if I sit there and I'm sad that my friends aren't reaching out to me as much as I want to, I say, "You know what? Imma be that friend that makes sure to check on them," and, uh,
Yeah.
so I try to be what I wanna see people as, for sure.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I
Yeah.
really love that. Um, yeah, I had a video some years back called like using other people as mirrors. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's in a good way, sometimes it's in a bad way. Like, but pretty much what I was saying in it was that if I see, so if somebody does something that's distasteful to me, whether they did it to somebody else or whether they did it to me, then like I'm like, originally I might be like, like I hate that. But then I'll immediately think to myself, do I do a version of this? Like, I want to know, like I want to make sure, like, am I blind to my own, like,
Mhm.
bull? Like, like, am I not even smelling like myself, but I'm like judging somebody else for whatever they're doing? And if I am doing it, like, or a version of it, then, I want to like change that. Or like, so even like you said, like, okay, well, I realized that I don't really like that this friend of mine is not supporting me as much. But then I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm supporting them as much, if I'm supporting other friends of mine as much. And so then that'll kind of like allow me to, like you said, like be what I want to see in the world. Uh, so I think that's like, yeah, that's a really good philosophy to like go by. Like when people often say, man, like someone should do this. And it's like, well, you're someone. So
Yeah, like if you want to see that change, there's nobody but you to do that change.
nice. Awesome. Well, Jules, thanks so much for featuring on my channel. For those of you who, once again, don't know her, please go and follow her Instagram page. It's not just for ENFJs. Well, I mean, you know, like if you want to learn more about ENFJ, like she does post about other types, but yeah, like I think that what I mean by it's not just for ENFJs is that any type can and probably should follow her page. And also, she has a YouTube channel as well where great videos on there, especially talking about like confidence and then, you know, things that are not just focused on type as well,
Mhm.
but she'll weave in elements of type. And would you like to plug anything else here?
Yeah, it's mainly about relating to the ENFJ type, but it's also I do slip in a lot of and can be interchangeable with just self-help and becoming better in general and understanding yourself that I think anyone can benefit from. I like to make fun little posts that you can send to your friends, like as encouragement or just anything of that sort.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, guys, make sure that y'all check her out. If she likes, I'm definitely gonna have her on my channel again every now and then. I would love to in our next video, like probably look at her own memes that she made and like
Mm.
discuss a lot of the things there. Because yeah, I think that that would be like really fun, and I would love to see like how you relate to like each of your own functions too, like so probably like going down like FENI, SCTI, like how
Yeah.
FE shows up for you and stuff like that. So maybe that can be in a video in the near or distant future, depending on like how scheduling comes up. But if y'all have any more questions for her, be sure to drop them in the comments. Again, like go subscribe, go and follow her page. And you also have a closing for your videos. I usually say, please don't forget that you matter. I would love for you to leave my viewers with your closing.
Thanks. Remember always that self-awareness is inherently self-empowering.
Boom. Done. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.